Hello and welcome back to, well, my music space. Today we have another review that we're going to look over, and I am pretty stoked about this one. Oh, this would be my new merch. You can go get it over at my merch store, which is going to be down in the description there. We've got shirts, hoodies, mugs, pants, leggings, you name it, it's over there. You can go snag yours today. I've kept the prices as low as I possibly can. I'm essentially making nothing off of these shirts, but I'm going to keep those prices low throughout the Great Guitar Build-Off. Go and snag yours today. The prices won't always be exactly as low as they are. Now anyway, back to it. What do we have today? Today we're going to look at something that I have been intrigued by for a while now. They initially came out with a base model product many years back. They have now expanded their line. I started following when they initially had their Kickstarter campaign, and I thought it was a genius idea. So today, what we're going to be looking at is the Core by Soundbrenner. What the Core is a metronome. Now I know what you're thinking. What's so special about a metronome? Well, let's open this package up and we'll take a look. Alright, so what is the Core? The Core is expanding on their initial model, which was the Pulse. The Pulse was a vibrating metronome that you wore, and you wore it in one of two ways. You could wear it with a wrist strap, or you could wear it with a strap that went around your chest, and it would just vibrate instead of clicking. Having a click track in the background, whereas it is helpful for practicing and keeping time, it is also a little distracting because I tend to hear all those things cutting through the mix, which isn't a problem for the final product. But for me, it cuts through a lot of what I'm doing. So when I heard about this being a vibrating metronome, I was immediately intrigued by it. But I didn't think that it was worthwhile to just have a bracelet that was a metronome. And then they came out with the Core. Now what the Core is the Core is a smartwatch that also almost doubles as what I would like to say a musician's toolkit. So not only does it have the smartwatch functionality, it also has the vibrating metronome, but it also has a tuner in it. Well, let's just open it up and take a look inside. I gotta say, it's quite lovely packaging. Nice and heavy duty. Oh, and right away, there you go. You can see all that. It's one of those lovely magnetic cases. So first off, you get your strap. This is the base model, so this is the polycarbonate version of it. It has magnetic locking mechanism that goes right into this strap here, and then there's your basic watch. So we got all those. We have a body strap, so that's in case you want to use the metronome strapped to your chest instead of being on your wrist. The packet comes with a couple of earplugs, which are the Soundbrenner earplugs. It's feels like they're pretty nicely made. Let's see. Yeah, they fit pretty well. I could see these being useful for playing gigs or doing sessions with them. And they come in this nice little case here that has a clip that I can hang on my keychain there. So that's pretty awesome. We have got a magnet, which is for your contact tuner. So for me personally, my one main worry with this is that I have many instruments, so having this just on one single instrument only sort of helps me. But you can see that even their case has these nice magnets to hold all this stuff in place. Your charging cable, because obviously you need to charge your watch, And that is it in this case here. And of course, you know, your manual booklet, but whoever reads those. Well, let's turn it on and see. All right, so we need to connect it to the app in order to set this up. So because I'm primarily going to be using this on my phone, and my phone is my camera, I'm going to go ahead and set this up. All right, so now that we got it set up, it's pretty simple. You just got to engage your watch. So you can see, if I hold it like this, it might flip around. Anyway, you engage your watch, and then you've got all these different things that you can search through. So what I've got on this menu here is the metronome. We've got the tuner. We have a decibel meter. We have the timer, a stopwatch, and the settings. And then you go back to your metronome. So we'll look at the metronome here. So basically you just hit the button to select which one you're going to. Here I'm on how many beats per minute we're going to go. So that's 120. I can change my time signature. I can change what note the beats are on, and I can change the intensity. And you just change those values by rotating this wristwatch here. And then all you do is you tap twice and it'll start pulsing. I don't know if the camera is picking up that, but it's quite an intense vibration, so I don't think this will be not felt while you're playing or while a lot of music is going on in the room. You just double tap it to pause it again. Now, if you press it 3 times, it will match what your tempo is there, and you see it reset itself to 194, and then you just press twice and it will go to whatever you're tapping there. Now, that in itself is pretty useful for when you're playing with other people and you just want to decide to tap to start off what your tempo is, and then that will adjust itself to that particular tempo. So now one of the key worries that I had about this watch was that it is utilizing magnets in the harness there, and I thought to myself, how can that be stable enough for everyday use when you're moving around? And you see it's not budging. They are very strong magnets, so I mean you can look and you see that it is a pretty strong magnet, and they're not really going to move a whole lot. What I didn't realize in all their descriptions is that it actually has a twist to pull it off. So it's got 2 little hooks on either side here that lock it in place. So not too bad. Now we can go back to our settings here and we'll take a look at the tuner, which is one of the main things that I was excited for about this. I mean, the metronome is great for practice and in practicality, but what I wanted to know is how responsive the tuner was. So what I'm going to do here is we'll pull down the old Ergo model from Great Guitar Barrel off. You can see I have my tuner that I normally use on here. But what I want to see is I'm going to turn on this tuner, and then I'm just going to, because this is a stick-on and I've only got one of them, I'm just going to set it on here. It's a contact tuner, so it should pick up anywhere on the body. So I'm just going to go ahead and take the watch off. We're going to connect it to the contact tuner, and we're going to set that right on the body. Now, we're going to go ahead and select this. It's chromatic, so we're just going to go ahead and turn our other one on, and we'll see how responsive it is. I've just got this set up here so that we can see both of them here. You can see I got both of them engaging, and from the looks of it, they seem to be registering pretty identical. And quite honestly, this actually seems much more sensitive than what my standard tuner does. And just so you know, nothing funny on here, I do have them both set to 440 Hertz. They're both set identically the same. But whereas this one says I'm in tune, this one looks like it goes more on a finer scale here. So it seems that this tuner is operated on a much finer scale than this one. So I'm assuming that the one I normally use isn't very accurate in comparison. Although now that I've got it tuned on the Soundbrenner itself, it is still reading in tune on the other tuner. So I would say that that's a pretty darn good tuner. The downside to this is that if I'm going to utilize this, I'm going to have to get a mount for every single one of my guitars, which is something I'm going to have to look into to see if Soundbrenner actually offers extra mounts. And that only does me any good for my personal guitars. Now, what you may have noticed here is that I actually had the magnet up on my tuning keys here, so I was able to actually not stick it down, and you can see that all the notes are still registering. So maybe I just don't stick it down and I utilize it that way. Alright, there's only two other things that I can really check over on this watch. One is the day-to-day use, and two is, I suppose we got to get the body strap on, don't we? So essentially, it just looks very much like your watch strap, but it's got this nylon Velcro piece here and an extender. And the extender is so that you can strap it around your chest. And then you're essentially supposed to put it around your body something like this and have it strapped right up in here. Multiple ways you can wear it. This is the one that they showed in this diagram right here. Showed it slung over his shoulder, underneath, just like I have it here. This extender seems like it may not be long enough to sit exactly how he had it, but let's strap it in and see how that feels. We'll just go ahead and we'll get the metronome set up here. We'll get it strapped into here. So same thing, it clicks in the exact same way as your strap, and then ooh, that's quite an intense vibration right there. Tell you what, if you're wearing it like this to practice, this is a statement piece. I think having it on the wrist is just fine, but you know, being a guitarist, it's not really in the way of my guitar here, so it's not too bad. So it's not too bad. It's not in the way. You can feel it. It's not too bad. I'd say the vibration is a little intense in the chest in comparison to on the wrist. So I probably won't wear it like this, but I could see how it would be useful like this. So the last thing I really just got to check out is wearing it on a day-to-day basis. How is it as a smartwatch? Because at first glance, we'll just turn this off. After first impressions, I would say for the contact tuner and for the metronome, I'm pretty impressed with the functionality, which was the main goal of what they were doing with these products, was they wanted to make a metronome. So it very much does that. The tuner is very accurate. I would use it. I'm going to be using it. But they did also make it a smartwatch, so we'll see how that functions. But that's going to take a handful of days of me wearing it for me to test that. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wear it around for a while, and then we'll see you a little bit in the future. Alright, so I guess the final question is, what are my final thoughts on it? Well, I personally like it a lot. And that is because I feel like I'm the demographic that this is made for. So is it worthwhile? If this is what you're seeking, yes. If you're seeking a regular smartwatch, this is probably not for you because it is limited functionality as far as a smartwatch goes. This is designed for musicians. It's not designed to do all the extra things that a normal smartwatch would do. With that being said, this one here is in the cheaper price point. This is around the $200 mark. They do have one that is a step up, the Soundbrenner Core Steel, which is going to cost a little bit more extra. And I was thinking that that would probably be the one that I wanted because I feel like the steel would be more durable, and ultimately it would. But what you're really worried about damaging the most out of anything is the screen, and as far as I understand, it's the same screen. You just get some bonus parts with it, like a different strap, and obviously it's made out of the stainless steel, but as far as the functionalities, it's all the same stuff. So it is a bit of a steep price, but that's to be expected when you're buying any kind of smartwatch. Now, let's talk about some of the things that I've noticed over the about week and a half that I've been wearing it so far. One, this is the polycarbonate model, which I was thinking was going to be less durable, and I have a pretty active job. I work in construction, I build all day, and this thing has held up just fine. I had other concerns about it being on a magnet on this harness here. It's not fallen off once. I've had no issue with that. As far as a smartwatch, it has all the basic functions that you'd want in a smartwatch. It tells the time, you get notifications, you can set alarms, plus the added benefit of the tuner and the metronome. Now, I wore this for 9 days without charging it, and it held battery the whole time. On the 9th day, I only charged it because I figured that it was at 9% at that point, and I was going to be gone the rest of the day. The next day, I didn't want it to die on me while I was out and couldn't charge it, and I'm terrible about bringing my chargers with me in the first place. So I charged it. When I did charge it, it only took about an hour to charge up completely, which is great. So it has long battery life. It doesn't take long to charge, and you don't even have to take the strap off. You can just take this piece off here and charge it without even removing the strap. So no fuss, no muss. I could just take it off the charger and pop it right back on my wrist. I really like the tuner. It is extremely accurate, and I've used it a handful of times. While I was testing this, I was going through variances in days where I would heavily use it one day and I would just use it as normal the next day. So, you know, the average things of checking your notifications and nothing too fancy. And the battery still lasted 9 days without a charge. There's a couple downsides to this thing that I have noticed personally for my own use. I don't like that the tuner mount is a stick-on magnet. And for me, that's because I have to stick it down and it is on that instrument. As you can tell around me, I have many instruments, and having just one attachment doesn't do me a whole lot of good. So I would prefer to see an accessory where I could clip it on just like your average Snark tuner or something to that effect, and that would do me much more good. And the fact that they only send one mount, personally, when I think of what this thing offers, being, you know, the nice metronome, the nice tuner, your average person who is going to be interested in this product is more than likely going to have more than one instrument. I know that's not necessarily always the case, but 9 times out of 10, people practicing with a metronome are really serious about music, and they generally have 2 or more instruments, just in my experience of people that I know. So thankfully, they're not too expensive to purchase on their website. They're only about $6 a piece. If I were to buy them for a majority of my instruments, I'd be spending a lot. It would add up after a while. I mean, just right here I have 7 instruments, and then I've got another 3 upstairs, so 10. That's already $60 just to buy the little stick-on pieces for it. So you're adding in excessive expense on top of just buying the watch, which isn't necessarily cheap to begin with. So I would think that there had to be a way for there to be some kind of clip-on mechanism, and I personally will be looking into that myself, whether I have to make it or not. I just think it would be a better option overall, especially because what I was drawn to the tuner for with this thing was because I repair instruments and I would love to just have one on me. But in this instance, The one on my phone is much more accessible because I have to have the contact piece, and that's an extra piece that I have to carry, and just yada yada yada. You get what I'm getting at. It is still a great tuner, and it is very accurate in comparison to the other ones that I have. So I will be using it. I just think it's a bit cumbersome to only have just the one piece. And it being a magnet, I don't really want to carry it around in my pocket. The other gripe that I have is the notifications. Most smartwatches have an ability to select and deselect the different types of notifications that come to your watch. This does not. It's either on or off. And the only settings that you can do is going into your actual phone settings to turn on and off the different notifications you want to get. The cheap $20 smartwatch I had prior to this even had the capability of selecting which ones I wanted. So I could not get my email ones, get all my text ones, get my phone calls, and then nothing else. This is either all or nothing unless you turn it off on your phone altogether. Now I get this is designed for the musical aspect of it, so it's probably something that was overlooked entirely. It was more of, here's this fancy metronome and tuner, plus it can tell time. Seems more of a side note than the actual functionality, but even with that said, the functionalities it does have with all the notifications and stuff is pretty instantaneous. There is a minimal lag between when it goes onto your smart device to the smartwatch. I usually have the vibrate on my phone, and I can tell that I get that and this right after, so there's not much of a lag between that. Would I recommend buying it? I definitely would, if it is what you're looking for, because this is not your average smartwatch. So if you're looking for your health tracker and all of that fun stuff with the step counter and all that, this does not have that. This is more your base function, alarms and time and notifications, and that's it, with the added benefit of having a really nice metronome and a really nice tuner. So if you're not a musician, this is a waste of money for you. If you are a musician, however, as I'm sure you already know, some of that really nice gear, being the tuner and the metronome, can cost quite a bit already as it is. So you're getting it all in one thing, and personally, I think the functionality for those aspects are fantastic. I would say I'd give it a overall 8 out of 10, and I personally will be using it constantly. Oh, you've noticed these? You can go to my store and get these wonderful lounge pants as well. Link is down in the description. With that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.